All right, everyone, what's going on? Welcome to today's stream. I'll give it a few minutes to start here before we get going. All right, so last week, if you guys were here last Saturday, we started this little live stream to do a 5 project JavaScripts kind of little series. So if you guys missed out on last week, the project that we worked on, or the first 2 that we worked on, was this countdown timer right here, which I'll show you here real quick. So what it basically allowed us to do, let me just move it over. So what this allowed us to do was select the date here. So we could pick any date we want to create our event. So it's kind of more like an event countdown timer. And we could say my new event here, and we could create our countdown or event. And as you can see, the date that we picked was 9 days, 9 hours, 26 minutes, and then it's counting down here. All right. And then we also had the ability to clear the event. Now, this isn't the prettiest looking app, but we were mainly focusing on the JavaScript. What's going on, Degeneration? Welcome to the stream, man. So yeah, that was the first project that we worked on. Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Yep, that was the first one. So if we head over here, then the next one we worked on, which was this weather app, which is kind of a stretch, probably calling it an app. Let me move this one over here as well. Grab this. Like I said, we really didn't focus a lot on the styling here. We just were focusing more on the JavaScript side of things. So what we were allowed to do here was, for example, we could pick a city. So we could do Detroit here, and we could hit search, and we'd get the temperature for Detroit here. All right, so mainly that was what we worked on, and we could also do other stuff like Boston, and we'll get the temperature from there as well. So just 2 little mini apps here to just kind of practice some JavaScript. So those are what we worked on last week. So this week, what we'll be doing, or we're going to be finishing these up here. So these first 2 projects that we worked on were, I would say, probably the most time consuming. This countdown timer took a lot more time than I anticipated. So the remaining ones here we should be able to knock out within today's stream. So we have our slide out animation, our slide out animated navigation menu. We have this Rgba background color changer. So if you don't know what that is, we'll have like 4 different sliders, maybe like within the center of the screen, and then we'll have like the body be the background, and when we alter with the slider, see, it'll change the color of the background. So we'll be doing that. And then the last one here, which is actually something that may come in handy quite a bit going forward, is this keyboard event key code. So when you're building stuff with JavaScript, sometimes you want to have also the ability to hit like a certain button on your keyboard, and you may not know how to exactly target that button, but we can actually, they have like, each key has a unique thing to it that we can access. So we'll be creating a little app here to kind of let us know what each key is and how we can target that in JavaScript. All right. So let's get started here. So the first one is going to be this navigation. We'll actually keep it easier today. This one probably won't be too hard. We'll add a little animation to it so that it slides in and slides out. So that'll be a little styling there. So we'll actually focus on a little bit of CSS, but not a lot. We're not going to get too crazy with it. It's mainly to focus on the JavaScript here. So we'll do our index.html. We'll need a style.css. And then we also need a app.js. All right. So what I can do here is I'm going to actually copy some of the styling here from the initial one. So for mainly everything we need to do, we want to do a reset, and we also want to use a Google font here. So I'm just going to copy that, and we're going to use it here inside of our third project. So let's just copy this, and there we go. Then what we'll do here is we'll get our template built out here, and then we'll just say project 3 navigation menu like that. And be sure to let me know how the audio is. I tweaked a few things from last time, so if you guys can hear me all right, just let me know. If it's not the best, I'll do some fixing to it, but hopefully it should be good. So then let's also open this up with live server, and what I'm gonna probably do here is let's actually just bring this like that and bring it down. We'll try something a little bit different here with this. So let me see here. Sorry about that. Let's just shrink this up a little bit here. Come on. There we go. So we'll just kind of go back and forth like this. I'll also shrink that up like that. And we'll close this out here. All right, so for this, what we'll do is, once again, so a couple things here. So we have the navigation menu that's going to we'll just have it slide out, or we'll have it be right here. So what I'm anticipating for this is, because normally what you do is you'd have like a normal navigation menu, which you probably could create, and then maybe have it animate down. Maybe that's probably the best way to do it. Or do we just focus maybe on the navigation slide out? I think a simple navigation is probably going to be redundant here because it's very simple to build, so I don't really want to waste time on that. So let's just build out the slide out one here. So we'll use a nav tag, and then inside of here we'll just have, so the body will be our container, then we'll do our navigation. So we'll just do our unordered list here, and then we'll have some li items. So we'll say like home. We'll do maybe like about, and I don't know, something like a contact. This doesn't really matter for this. So we'll do that. So we'll just have that little snippet right here. So nothing too crazy. So we never linked up our style sheet. So I was wondering why some of those initial styles were never actually linking up here. So we'll do our style sheet here. And that should push everything to the center. And then we also want to link up our JavaScript file. So do our script tag here. And then we'll have, let's see, the app.js. All right. So let's tap into our style here. So we actually may not want to place all the items center. So we actually don't want to do this for this project. So that'll push it back up there. So what we can do is actually target the nav, and we'll give it a background color. And just so we can see it, let's do like a blue. So by default, we'll see it have this behavior right here. So let's see. Let's give it a height of 100% here, right? So it's going to take the whole screen. And then let's give it a width of, we'll say max width, and let's do like 300. Let's test that out. So we'll get something like this. So your traditional navigation menu, although it looks really hideous right now, like I mentioned, we're not going to focus on the styling here too much. So let's see here. Now what we want to do is let's give this a color of white so it stands out a little bit more. There we go. And then let's add some padding around everything here to kind of make sure we don't have it all touching the sides. So we'll just do like 16 pixels all around. That should be good right there. And then we'll target our UL, and we'll get rid of those list styles. So we'll say list style and do none, and that'll remove that there. And let's also target our LIs here. And let's give this a font size of, let's do like 24 just to make that a little bigger so we can see it here. And let's just push this over a little bit more so. And then we'll do maybe like that so we can see what we're doing here. So we got that. Now, what we also want to do here is we want to be able to toggle this in and out, right? So let's actually just get the spacing here a little bit more. Let's see. So we'll do, I think we can probably, so our nav and our UL, could we just do a display flex direction, set this to a column, and then just do some, probably more than I needed to do for this, but I just like using gaps. So we'll do a row gap of like, I don't know, 24 pixels. That may be a good way to separate these out here. So what we also want to do is we need to have a little toggler. So where we could put this is probably over here. So let's see. Now, What we also probably want to do is actually position this nav absolute or fixed, because we don't want it actually within the actual flow of the page. So for example here, if I was to add, like, I don't know, if we came down here and added a header and said hello, you can see it's actually going to be all the way down here, and we don't really want that. When we have a navigation traditionally like this, we want it to be kind of position fixed on top of all of the actual content on the web page. So for that, what we'd want to do is actually do a position here, and we'll say absolute. So as you can see here, that's going to kind of make things a little bit weird. So we gave it a max width of 300 pixels. So we'd also want to say width 100%, and that should make it take up the full 300 pixels that we're defining. Now, the reason why we don't want to say width 300 is because if we get to a size that's not 300, you can see what's going to happen here is it's still actually doing it. Let's see here, it's not really a good example. So if we say max width 300 here, I think it's actually not shrinking. Interesting. Let me see here. So nav. So yeah, we take that. Well, we'll mess with that later. I guess I was thinking of something else that would work, but maybe we're missing something here. Let me see. All right, so anyways, let's forget about that for now. Let's not really worry about that. So what we want to do is we're going to use something called Font Awesome for our icon here. So let's go to Font Awesome. And what I'll do is I'll bring over the CDN.js, and I'll show you what I'm using here. So CDN.js is a really easy way to get a bunch of libraries inside of your apps or your website. So I'm going to use Font Awesome here. It's a free icon and SVG library. I always use this in a lot of my projects, so we'll just copy this link tag here, and we'll head over to our index.html file, and let's just insert that inside of our head tag here. All right, that'll give us access to use this library right here called Font Awesome. So for example, if we come over here, we can type in, or can select free, and we have over 1,500 free icons we can use in our site. So it's pretty cool. So we can look up for like a hamburger. I think I spelled hamburger. Yeah, whatever. But you can see we're going to use this bar right here. All right. So we'll grab this, and then we can just copy the actual snippet of code right here. We can come back over to our site, and where we'd want to have this particularly is, so normally what you do is you'd have another navigation menu probably for your traditional nav, but for now we'll just add it outside here. So as you can see, it's going to position that on top of our nav here. So what we want to do as well, since we positioned, so the body by default is positioned relative. So if we were to say, I believe top here, and we say 0, it should push it over the top of that like that. Now for this I tag, what we can do is, I believe, just a simple margin left of auto should push it. No, it doesn't. Let me see here. This is why it's a little tricky, because I'm not actually using a traditional navigation menu. We're just kind of throwing it on here. So it's right there. So maybe what we do is just throw it in a div, like, not dir, a div, like this. And then we'll take this inside of here like that. Give us a class of nav toggle like that. And then maybe we can come in here and say nav toggle. We can do a display of flex, and then we can do align. Let's see here, let's actually do that. So now we have nav toggle there. Okay, now we can see it over here. All right. And the margin auto is actually pushing it over there. What we could do, since we're using Flexbox, I believe, is we could just say align items flex end, or is it justify? I always get this confused. Justify content flex end. Nope, that didn't work either. Let me see here. Justify items flex end. Oh, I think I had it. Wait, what did I do? There we go. That's what I thought. Okay, so there we go. So now I can see our little toggler over here. And then what we could do is, let's just say on the I tag here, we'll just do a and this is really probably not the best way you would want to do it, but like I said, we're going to focus mainly on just sliding in and out our navigation menu, not actually like you know, the navigation itself, because you would traditionally have this inside of a different nav here. And what I'm doing here for the margin and stuff isn't probably the best way to handle it, but for this mini project, it's going to work fine. So we'll do margin. So on the top, let's do like 16 pixels. And then on, let's see, I think that should actually be fine. We'll just kind of position it like that. And then we can also increase this icon's size by giving it a font size when you're using Font Awesome. So we can just say like 24 pixels like that, and then it'll increase it right there. All right, so there we go. So I think that is gonna probably do it for the actual HTML here. Like I said, we're not gonna get too crazy with the styling of anything here. So what we want to do is when we click on this hamburger menu here, we want to slide in and out this sidebar navigation. So what we want to do is we want to, well, first off, let's get rid of this hello. Don't need that. What we want to do here is we need to target this nav. So if we save this and then we come over to our app.js, we want to target this nav. So we'll say navigation here, or we can just do nav, and we'll set this equal to a document dot, let's do query selector, and we'll say, I believe it's nav like this. Is, I always get this confused when you target the elements if it has to be, let's do a console.log just to make sure we have it, if it has to be uppercase or lowercase for this. So inspect, let's do a console here, a look, and yeah, we have our nav. So you can see here we're targeting our nav. So you have a few different ways you can handle sliding in and out a navigation menu. You could do something like display none. Well, I guess I should take this back. You don't have a lot of options when animating a navigation menu. You can't do display none to display whatever it is. That's not going to work. So, for example, if we maybe just kind of show you what I'm talking about here. If we created a display none class, so let's come down here and we said display none like this, and we set the display to none. So if we did this right, and then we went to our app.js, and we said, let's actually also target our button here. So we'll say const icon is going to equal document.query selector. And what we can do for this one, I believe, is just target the I tag, and that should get us our icon. Let me just double check that as well, though, because this is a smaller project, so this is acceptable to do. And yeah, so we're getting our icon. So what we'll do is we'll, just to show you what will happen if we start to toggle via the display none. Well, I guess you're not going to see it, but you just can't animate on display none. So I'll show you. So if we just do nav, let's do actually icon.add event listener here. We'll listen for a click on this, and we want to run our callback here. So what we could say is nav.classlist.toggle, and we'll toggle this display none class. All right. So if we do this, we should be able to hide and show that. But if we wanted this to animate in nice and smoothly, we can't really use this because you can't animate things on display none. Now, what I would suggest doing for this is using something like a transform and a translate to smoothly hide and show it in. And that's what we'll do. So this one's actually a really easy project, but it's very simple and it's very practical to be using in a lot of your websites. So that's why I wanted to include something like this within this project, because it does require a little bit of JavaScript, but it's mainly simple because we're just pretty much going to be toggling a class. So let's see. What we want to do is we probably want to, there's a couple ways we could handle this. One second. So what I'm thinking we do here is we just have a class that's yeah, I think we'll do display none. So we'll say transform, translate, and we want to translate on the, I believe, x-axis here. So if we do like a negative 100 pixels here, if we click on this, you can see that it's now 100 pixels off the page. So we probably want to do something more like negative 300 pixels here. So now it's gone, right? So we don't see it. We click on it, it's back. So pretty much same behavior that we had with the display none, but now we have the ability to animate this a little bit more, and I can show you that. So now, for example, on the nav itself, if we added a transition here let's say 300 milliseconds. Watch how this is going to come in and leave very smoothly now. So if I click on this, it comes in nice and it also exits nice. All right, so that's pretty much all we have to do. So as you can see here, we can do this, and if we wanted to, we could also do some styling to this icon here just for fun. So we could say on the icon, we could do a class, maybe, let's see here. Let's see, so we have the actual toggler itself. So we could target that and add something like, I don't know, animate, for example. So we could do an animate icon class here to just to kind of explicitly show what we're doing here. And we could do a transform, and we'll do a rotate, and we'll say 360 degrees here. And then what we can also do is target that icon again and just do a simple transition. So transition 300 milliseconds. So this may be something you traditionally do. And then what we'll do is we'll say every time we click on an icon, we want to toggle that classless again. Sorry, we'll do toggle, and we'll say animate icon like this. So now if we click on this, the icon's also going to have this really cool animation. So we have this really simple but more now user experience focused little slide in and slide out navigation. All right, so that was a very simple project to begin here. So I think that's going to do it for the first one. So let's actually just for actually making this actually a logical thing, let's add the class of display none on here automatically. And then now when we come into this project, we can see here that we're going to be able to toggle in and out this navigation here. All right. So that's going to be the first project here. So very simple. The next one's going to be a little more interesting, a little bit more challenging. So it's going to be this Rgba background color changer here. So let's go on to this one, and then let's open up this. So we'll do a new file here, and we'll say our index.html. We'll have our let's see, style.css, and also our app.js here. All right, so let's just close this out here. And then once again, let's close our editors here. So let's get rid of some of this other files we don't need. So project 3, and project 3. And I probably should have kept open the style sheet there. We're just going to grab some of these base styles. And we'll grab this like that. All right. And there we go. So let's create our boilerplate here with Emmet. And let's do this. Oops. See if I can get this eventually. And there we go. All right. So let's do project 4. We'll say Rgba color change. Okay. And then let's open this up with live server. Let's see, let's go right here. Don't know why it's always opening up on my other tab there, but that's all right. So now for this one, it's going to be a little, like I said, a little more challenging. So the idea, what I'm thinking here is we have like a little central modal here, right? So that's kind of what I'm anticipating. And we'll have 4 sliders, one for the Rgba, so one for each value there. And the slider will go from 0 to 255 to control the value of that. And then on the body, what we'll do is we'll attach some sort of dynamic listener to update the Rgba property to whatever value is on the slider. Okay. So that's kind of what I'm anticipating there. So what we'll do is we also probably want to go back to center everything. So we'll say display, we'll do our display grid, and we'll do place items to the center here, just to have that. Okay. So we'll have a div. We'll just do div.container to kind of contain everything here. So we'll do an h1 here to display the name of this. So we'll do Rgba color changer. All right. And why didn't that place it to the center? So display grid. Oh, again, I didn't hook up my style sheet, so that would make sense. And there we go. All right. So then what we want to do is we'll create some divs to hold the input, or yeah, hold each one of our inputs. So then we'll have our label here, and we'll say this is for, let's see, let's say R maybe. I don't know if you want to actually get explicit with this. And input, and we'll do type of slider here. Wait a minute. Let's see here. Oops. Input type, and we want a, let's see here, where is it? Is it actually, I think it's called a range, isn't it? It's not called a slider, it's called a range. There we go. Okay, so this is what we'll be using to control the actual Rgba values. All right, so what we can also do is I think there's a min of 0 and a max value we can pass in here of like 255. So as you can see, that'll just kind of allow us to go through those values, and we'll use JavaScript to actually get that specific value. So what we'll also probably want to do is add some classes here, and we'll just say for our value like this and do that. So we'll say our value like that as well, and then I believe that should be the structure we need here. So we'll just copy this down. Let's see here, 2, 3, 4. So we'll have the B value, we'll have the Rgba value, and then we'll have the, we'll call this the opacity. Oh, sorry, oops, I did this wrong. Rgb, and then we'll say a value like that. All right, so there we go. Let's see. So we have that. Now, for the alpha, we don't really use 0 to 255. We do 0 to 1. So I don't know if we can actually do decimals with the range here. So I'll have to check into that. So pretty much you can see here, if we do that, it's only one option. We may have to do like 1 to 10 maybe, and maybe convert that to like a decimal, like divide that value by like, by I think like 0.1 or something to kind of get like a decimal in there. So like if it's 1, it's 0.1. If it's 2, it's 0.2, and so on. So I think that's maybe what we'll have to do for this. But for the other three, they can all be 0 to 255 because those are the values that you can have for the specific this property inside of your styles. All right. So what we'll do here is I believe that's all we really need to do for this. There's really not going to be much like any kind of buttons we need to press. It's going to be pretty simple here. We're just going to change it, and as we change it, the background here will change. So let's target the container here. So we'll do we'll just change this to Rgba changer. Color change like this, so keep it simple. Like I said, you probably don't even have to do this, but this makes it more explicit if you had this was in a bigger project or something. So we'll just do that. So we'll target this, so Rgba color change. And why is it giving me, oh, do not use empty rule sets? Okay, so we have that. What we want to do here, so this is wrapping the entire thing. So let's give this like a max width of like, I don't know, 600 pixels, and we'll say width of 100%. And then let's also do like a background color here to separate it to we'll do F1, 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 which is kind of like a light, kind of like an offset white. I call it like a white smoke. Rgba. Let's do, what's it asking me? RG. Oh, I spelled that wrong, didn't I? Yeah. There we go. Rgba. There we go. And save that. All right. So let's do a couple more things here to make this stand out a little bit more. So let's do some padding around all sides, and we'll do like 32 pixels. See how that looks. It looks pretty good. Okay. And let's target our inputs here, and we'll display these as flex. So display flex like that. And why didn't that do anything? Oh, is it because these are, oh, because I have to add flex direction, do a column like that, and there we go. So what we'll also do here is let's target So since we probably can, let's do, no, I don't think I want to do that specifically. Let's say we could just do a display flex on the whole thing and then do some gap here to evenly spread them out, which let's just see how that looks. Doesn't hurt to try it out. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. You don't want everything to be spaced out sometimes all the same, so we'll just see how this looks. So obviously no difference there, but now we can apply some row gap here. Maybe we'll try like 16 pixels, and that doesn't look too bad. Maybe like 32. I just don't know if it's gonna look good. So spread apart. Try 40. Yeah, I think that's fine. And you probably should also output the value of the current slider too. So maybe we'll also do here on, since the label I believe is inline, I think we can also add a span tag here, and we could probably output the current value of like the R value from the slider itself. So we'll say class R value, maybe we'll say slider like that. So we'll just append slider to all this, and we never even gave them their own separate class anyway. So we'll come back here and say Rgb and then A, and then we have the R value, which for now we'll just set, I believe it goes to the middle, so we'll just say like 255 just to kind of see how that looks. So that is going to do that. I think that's fine. I don't think it really necessarily matters. Also, you want it underneath it maybe? Does that make more sense? I think that might make more sense, putting it underneath like that. So maybe we'll do that. Okay. So let's grab this, and then we'll come underneath here. We'll say G value. Underneath here, we'll do a B value, and then we'll have our A value. So you probably want to hook these up. So I don't think you can really even do that anyways, what they're for. So let's just get rid of this for attribute. Probably don't even need it. It's not going to be useful for this. All right. So we have that. I think that's going to be it. We probably could increase the size of a couple things here. So let's just, for viewing purposes, let's target our label here, and let's do a font size of 18 pixels. Let's increase that a little bit. And then for our span, let's do font size. Those are probably fine. We'll leave that as it is. Like I said, it's not too big of a deal. All right, so if we refresh, they're probably all going to be at the center here. So I think that's going to be it for actually the markup here. We don't really need to do much more with this. So what we want to do now, let's see. So do I have my JavaScript file hooked up? I don't. So let's hook that up here. So we'll come below all of our inputs here. So we'll close these up. And then we'll do right outside this div, let's do our script tag. And then let's do our, let's see here, app.js. Like that. All right. So what we'll say here. So pretty much what we want to do is we want to listen for these to slide here, because I'm trying to think how we want to handle this. So we're going to want to add a style to the whole background here that's going to change when we move these. So we probably want to gather all of them up, I think, right? Or how would we want to handle this? There's a couple different ways I think we can go about this, but I'm trying to think of the most productive way to do this. Let's see. So I wonder if we were just, let's just try this out. So let's say const range sliders is going to equal a document dot query selector all, and then we'll just get all of the inputs like that. So if we console.log the range sliders here, I believe that should give us all of them. I don't know what that comes back with particularly. Let's look. So in our console, we get a node list. Oh, it's input, not inputs. So if we do that, we get this node list here, and we get, I believe, the class list on these, or we get the class from all, so we can see R value slider, G value slider, and so forth. All right. So if that is the case, then let's see, how could we handle this? I'm thinking if we listen for, so we say range sliders dot add event. So actually, sorry, range sliders dot for each here. We want to go through each of them. So we'll say for each, let's see, slide or range, we want to come in here and we're going to say range dot add event listener. We want to listen for, I believe it's a input change we want to listen for, but that might be wrong. Let's look at this, and then we'll just say console.log the actual do range dot value. I think we can get off that. Let's try this out. So now if we come in here and we move this, we can see, yeah, so that works. So by default, what we're doing here is we're running through, so we're getting all the sliders here, and then we're iterating through them, and we're listening for a input change on any one particular, doesn't matter which one. We're going to listen for a change, and we're going to log out to the console here the value. So if you see here, we can kind of move this, and we're going to see the value change. And the max we can do is 255, and the least we can do is 0. And for this one, we only gave it a value of 0 to 10. So you can see here, if I go back, it's 0 and then 10. Okay, so that is that. Now, what we need to do here is we need to determine which one we're changing, right? Because we want to indicate that is the R value, for example, and we want to update the body of the. So we're going to be putting like a dynamic Rgba value on this body here. So I think what we want to do is, so if I just console that along the range itself, what do I get? I think I get the class. So what we can do here is that going to be the best way to handle this though? Let me see here. Trying to think about this because there's a couple different ways we can handle this. We could check the class and see if it was the R value slider, for example, and then we could store that value inside of a particular variable, and then that variable would be assigned to that. But I don't know if that's particularly like the best way of handling it. Or do we let's see here. So let's try this out. So I have a couple different ways. So we'll say const body equals document dot query selector, and we want to grab, I believe the body we can just grab like this, right? And this is a double check, console.log the body here. So yeah, we get the body like that. All right. And then we could add like a class list to it. So we could say body, actually, I'll just show you. So body dot style dot, let's see, background color is going to equal, and then we'll do a Rgba, probably got to put this in quotes, Rgba, and we'll say 255 0.1.4, I believe that would work. So you can see there, we can dynamically use JavaScript and change the background color. So what we want to do is we want to take the value from the slider here particularly, right? And we want to change the appropriate values here for each one when we move this slider. So I'm wondering if we do a for each here, right? And so it's going to go through each of them, but if we change it, then we update that value, right? But how do we determine which one that we want to update? So this may take a little bit of tweaking to figure this out here. So let's see here. What's the best way to handle this? So let's see. Trying to think, because like I have in my head how we could do this, but I don't know if that's going to be the best way and most efficient way to do it. So let's just try it out. So if we say if the range, because right now, yeah, so if range dot class list equals our value slider, then let's just listen for that and just do a console.log. I just want to see if this is a efficient way to handle this. So console.log hello. So if we change this one right here, we should see nothing. If range.classlist equals our value dot slider, right? Let's just do console.log range.classlist. Interesting. We have to do the range.classlist.value. Okay. I don't remember that. So let's try doing this. So we do that, we get hello. So that one's only working for that one particularly. As you can see now, we're not going to have any of these other ones be affected. So this is like a indefinite way to check which value we want to update here. Okay. So I'm thinking what we do here initially is, let's try this. Maybe what we do is we say const r value is going to equal. See, that's the problem though. We don't know the order, so I can't just particularly say, oh, that one equals that one, right? So that's really not going to work. Let me think about this here. So we're running through each one of the actual sliders, right? And we're listening for a change. If the change is on the R value slider, we know that is going to be pertaining to this value right here. So, or do we have this check somewhere else? Then we have to have event listeners though everywhere, don't we? Let's see here. Yeah, this one's a little, I mean, I think this would work. Because we're not going to know the value though of each one. Like if I just console.log range here, I think we're going to get 4 of these. So they do go in order. So hypothetically, we could just say like the first one based on the index. But if we ever, well, is that a good way of handling it? I don't know if that's the best way. So if we just say like index here, and then we said, let's see here. So we're console logging the range. So if we say const r value equals range, and then we do index dot value, right? Then we say console dot log r value. I mean, I don't know if that's an appropriate way of handling it. So cannot read property of value. Wait a minute. So console.log, let's do range.value. Why am I only getting the first one there? That's interesting. Let's get rid of this here. Oh, because they're all the same value right now, 128. Okay. So for each range that goes through, yeah, it's not really going to work that way, right? I was thinking that may work a little differently. We would have to not do for each because, yeah, we get 4 different iterations here. Let me see our. R value, and then let's say range. No, that's not going to work either. This one's actually more tricky than I thought here. hmm. There's just a lot of different ways to handle this. I just don't know the best way. Let's see. So R value slider, right? So if that means we know it's the R value. Maybe we do this. Maybe inside of here, right? Inside. So this is going to listen for a change on each one. Let's try. Do that. This probably won't work though, will it? And then if we say come in here, and then we do, so we'll just do this to interpolation here because we want to insert this. That kind of works, right? I guess that's not horrible. So we have this, so we're doing let all these right here equal the associated one. So now if we just go down 3 more times and we say if it equals the G value, if it equals the B, and it equals the A, then we say the appropriate value. So we'll say G, B, and then A. So then we'll do the same thing here. We'll do a B value. Then we'll say, sorry, Rg. And then B, oops, what's going on here? B value like that, right? Is that actually going to, so see, that's not working anymore. Refresh it here. So Rgb, and then we have the 0.4. Let's just extend this over a little bit more. Right, so G value slider, B value slider, A value slider. This should work. I'm not seeing it do anything anymore though. Let's go over to the body here. So we see by default it's 255, 0. Oh, let's actually remove that. So if we do that, we get nothing. But as soon as we do this, we don't actually get anything anymore. It's not even like adding it, even though this is changing. It was working a minute ago. Why wouldn't it be working now? So R value, G value. Let's see. Like I said, I don't think this is the best way to handle this, but yeah, it's not even allowing us to change this right here. It's not even updating it at all anymore. Go to this index here. We weren't really using that. But see, if I do that, it's changing it right there. So if I add a different value, is it not working? Is that what the problem is? Let's see here. So if we say G, value. Oh, I wonder if it's because it doesn't actually change that it doesn't have it. It doesn't have it initially, right? So that's the issue. I think it's well, no, because they all should go. Oh, they're not all going through. I almost think that what we need to do is because this logic to run when we change it and also when it goes through them. So what I'm thinking actually is maybe this is what we need to do, because I think this will work if we create a function for this. So if we say const update Rgba is going to equal a arrow function here. So if we, for example, maybe call this function here, we remove all this right here, and then we just call update Rgba here like that. So every time we have an input change, and we also do it here as well to get it initially. I think that would work, right? No, still doesn't. Why wouldn't that work? So update Rgba here. That's the right function, right? So for each one, we're going through and we're going to check the color. It's probably because, do all these actually end up getting values though, I wonder? So console.log r value g value b value. Range is not, oh, now we don't have that in here anymore. Okay. Oh, maybe if we pass in this as a param, range, range. So we're getting undefined for a lot of these, which is interesting. So I pass in range, console.log. This is getting way out of hand for how easy this is. So yeah, so we have all of them here. So why is it undefined for a lot of these? So range dot class list. Interesting. No, I don't know. This is a very tricky one to get, but it seems like if we just do the 1 here and do like 0, this works pretty smoothly. But yeah, we're getting undefined for, so 24, which is right here. So it doesn't seem like these are actually getting assigned for some reason. You even know that they exist up here. That's interesting. So if I refresh the page, the values are all there. Input's not changing, right? Comment this out for a second. Yeah, so 128 undefined. I think I see what's going on here. But I guess I don't, because this function, if we think about this, it's updating for every slide or every range we have, it's going through here. Oh, and then it's setting the color. Oh, I see what's going on. I see what's happening here. So we probably don't want to set the color within this function, right? Because, I think I see the issue here now. Yeah, that was pretty clear actually. People watching this are probably thinking, yeah, that was pretty evident. So what's happening is because, yeah, we're going through each time, for each slider we have, we're going through and we're actually setting these values here within the function, which probably isn't what we need to do. We probably want to have a function. So let's actually start over here. This may be a little easier. So we'll say set Rgba, and we'll set this equal to a function. We'll clean this up because right now it's kind of messy. So initially, we want to have, so I'm thinking these may need to live outside the function themselves. So up here, like this. So they're going to be out here. So I'll have these initially, right? And then I think, so update Rgba. So then we want to go through all of them. So I think we were on the right pace here, but just kind of thought about it a little bit too much here. Got a little too started complicating things. So let's think about this. So when we first load in the page, we want to loop through each one of our sliders and get the actual value for them. So I think we'll need to call this function right here. So we'll have our range, and then we have, it's probably going to be very similar to what we have down there, but the thought process I think is a little bit better this time. So we're going to have this function. We're going to loop through each one of our ranges, and we want to run our function here of update Rgba, and we'll pass in the range like that. I think that's more or less what we want. Then after we actually loop through all of them, we want to say body dot style dot, let's do background color, and we're going to set it equal to a Rgba, and let's put this in backticks Rgba here. And then what we'll do is we'll say our, let's do our value here. Then we'll have our G value, our G, and then we have our B value. All right, so there we go. And then we'll say 0 here for the alpha because we're still working on that one. All right, so let's just remove this for now. We probably may need to add that again, but we're just kind of getting the initial setup here. So then if we call this function set Rgba, we should be able to, I hope, have that all working correctly. And I don't think it still is, which is interesting. Let's go back here. So we're running through each of these and we're setting the value of R. So if I was to like console log after this console.log R value here, I'd hope this has value, so 128, and then we say G value 128. So it's not setting it inside of the, oh, it is. Okay, so oh, duh. So okay, let's back it up here. So once again, getting ahead of myself. So we have it setting here initially. So as you can see, 128, 128, 128, 0. That's good. So we're on the right track this time. Now what we want to do is you want to have a listener that's going to listen for these values to update. So now that we have them set here, then what we'll do is we're going to do, so we had the right thing. We kind of had it set up correctly, but we were just missing a few things, which is good. This is literally how I think a lot of programming works, where you might sit here for 15, 20 minutes and literally stumble upon the dumbest thing ever, and then eventually you kind of figure it out, and it's like, wow, that was really simple. But that's usually how programming is. It's, you think things are a lot more complicated than I believe they are a lot of times. But anyways, so we'll say our range sliders, and we'll do a for each, and for each we'll do again range here, right? So for each range that we have, we want to do a listener, so we're going to say so we'll do range dot add event listener. We want to listen for an input change here, run our callback, and then we want to run the function of update Rgba here. Okay, and then we'll pass in the range. So that'll work, but the problem we have now is we're not setting it anywhere, because we don't want to set it in this function because initially this will be null. So what I'm thinking we do here is after we run this function, we just set the body, because at this point, I believe, well, that's a problem, because this shouldn't really matter, because it's not gonna run. So we want to also put this inside of here, I believe, right? So now if we change this, it's updating. So as you can see, we're able to now update our background here. Let's mess with this a little bit. Oh, is this because it's 0? probably should put this to 1. And let's try this out now. So refresh, move this, and there we go. So we can kind of mess this around a little bit and we can update that. So pretty cool. All right, so not as complicated as it seems here. So let's fix this up a little bit so we can kind of read what's going on here. So we know these are all our variables here. So we'll just say do vars, and then we have our, this is going to be the, we'll say updates all the values for Rgba like this, and this is going to be our initial setting of Rgba on page load, and then we're going to say here listens input change updated. All right, so there we go. Now, what we also want to do is, as you can see here, we're not actually letting the user know what value of the number we're actually giving our outputting here. So we want to do that as well. So where I think we do that is, so we have the value here, right? So we want to make references to each one of these tags here, right? So what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll say const, and we'll do let's see, well, actually it might not have been our value, maybe we'll say our value slider like this. So let's just append this to all of them here like that, and just come inside of here, our value slider. Then where we also want to do that is going to be inside of here. And don't forget, we still have to do our alpha value, which we'll get to in a second. And then here as well, we could probably also create this a function to actually set it so that it was more consistently. We didn't have to worry about that. So maybe this will call init for initializing everything. Oh, what's going on, Rosar Gaming from Indonesia? Wow, that's far away from me. Well, welcome to the stream, man. Glad you stopped by. So we'll say a init like that, and then yeah, let's just create a function to set it. So we'll say set Rgba like this, just so we have, what in the world was that? Set Rgba here, just so we have one function that kind of handles all of this, so we don't have to do it twice. Makes sense here. So why didn't it? Oh, I'm not using view here. There we go. So we're moving from here. So we'll say update Rgba, and then we'll set Rgba like that. All right, and that way it's kind of lives in one spot, so we don't have to worry about actually setting that. So I think we want to probably call this up here so we don't get any errors. All right, so check everything and make sure it still works. It actually isn't working right now. Our G value slider, it should work though. I don't know if we messed something up here. Let's see. So we're gonna go through each of them. And init, we just must have messed something up. So let's take a look at what we did here. Yeah, should work in theory. I don't see why it's not. So I refresh it here. Yeah, the body no longer has it on there. So set Rgba. So init, that's the right one. Update. Oh, it's because I have this probably random thing sitting here. Yeah. All right, test it out now. And yeah, there we go. Which probably also changes to 1 though, like I mentioned, so we can actually see the change here. So initially we have that, and there we go, still works. So the problem we were trying to actually solve before we got sidetracked there was we wanted to output the actual value of the slider in the correct spot here, so that the user knows, like, hey, I like this color, let's use it. We probably could get a lot more customized with this and even kind of display that value right here, which probably would be better so they could copy it, but Maybe we'll do that. Maybe that probably would be better to do, to have that just like that. So, yeah, maybe we'll do that instead. I think that might work a lot better. So let's do that. Maybe I just added more work for myself here, but I think that sounds like a better way to handle that. So this will actually be something useful you could use. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless. So we'll have the inputs here. And then, yeah, maybe we'll store it right underneath the header here. So maybe we'll have like an H2, and then we'll call, we don't even need to really do anything with that. So let's do, so let's do like this. This is where I don't like the gap because we're using. All right, so that's kind of an issue. I don't like that because this is where it comes into where I don't really think it's useful. So get rid of the row gap here. And then what we'll do is we'll have our H1. I'll do a margin on the bottom of like 16 pixels to separate that. Let's see here. So it looks like that already kind of had some spacing. Interesting enough. We'll do that. So then our H2 will have a margin on the bottom 32 pixels like that. Separate all those. And then I guess we could just do a div and say class range wrap like this, and just stick all these inside there. Easy enough. Come into here, say range wrap like this, display flex direction column, and then do a row gap of 32 pixels. And it might seem redundant to do this because you could just do margin on the bottom and last child, but I don't know. I just feel this is a little bit easier. You don't have to add that additional pseudo selector to mess with that. So we'll just keep it like this. So that looks good. So yeah, then I'll put the whole entire Rgba value right here. I think that'll be a lot better to actually make this useful. So let's get a hold of that value. So we'll say const value, and set this equal to a document dot query selector, and then we'll do our H2 like that. And then when we set it here, I'll also say the let's do the Rgba value dot inner text, and then we'll set this equal to the so we'll just concatenate all this, and we'll say R value slider, G value slider, and then we'll do B value slider, and then just for now we'll do 1. And so that didn't seem to work. Why not? So I just got 1. Oh, wait, what? Oh, I did this completely wrong. Whoops. That's not how you do this. So like that. I was like, why did it just give me 1? That didn't make sense, but we did our interpolation wrong here. Let's fix that. And there we go. I think that should be good, except I have an extra line here. All right, so we'll say Rgba and do that. Then we'll also do that, right? There we go. So that's our current Rgba, and if we start messing with this, you can see it's going to change for us there. And I think that's a lot better because this allows, someone to actually copy this value here and stick it inside of maybe their project. So, like I mentioned, the A value is kind of interesting. I don't think we can actually use. Let me look if you can use decimals. That's going to be an interesting if we could do that. So, can you use decimals? Let's see here. So if we can use decimals, this may be good. Oh, you can probably just do the step. Oh, awesome. This makes our life, I don't have to do that. I was thinking we may have to add some additional JavaScript, but I think we can just do this. So, I think I'm going to butcher this name, but Amrat, you said, hey, John, your videos are useful. useful for you. Thanks for it. Yeah, appreciate it. I'm glad to hear that. It's usually why I like teaching. You know, number one, it helps me learn. Um, it helps me learn a little bit, and if you guys can get some, you know, if you guys can gain something out of it, then that's awesome. That's kind of why I like doing it. Someone says, or a little trick to do is create a helper class called margin and let it be like margin and set it on the parent. Yeah, you could do that, but I feel coffee addict with that's funny. I love coffee. It's funny your name is that. Um, I think the problem, or not the problem with that, I think it's just a more modern approach is that I think you don't have to use flex docs, but I feel it's just so convenient to have these three, these three properties right here, and you can easily get very nice separation. Uh, Wacy, hello, Nick from India. What's going on, Matt? That's a long way away as well. Welcome to the stream. Glad you guys have made it here today. Hopefully, you guys are having a great day so far. So yeah, I think getting back to it, I think that should work. So that's gonna, looks like we can actually increase a step by 0.1, which is gonna be perfect. So max will be 1. So I think that'll work. Let's just test this out inside of our JavaScript file here. So let's just see what this is gonna be. So console.log, and we'll say a value slider. So I'll go back over here into our console. And it's funny, I just did a video on this as well to use Quokka. You probably should be using Quokka, might be a little easier. So let's actually use that. So start on current file. It's a matter of preference, just throwing out. Yeah, of course. Definitely a matter. It's just a matter of preference. I choose to, yeah, I just tend to choose to like to use the flexbox method. But that's the beauty about programming. You can do anything you want. There's multiple ways to do different things. So yeah, Jay asks, hey, can you do a Nux 3 e-commerce example? Possibly. I actually had something I was working on for Nux that I will be releasing on the channel very soon. It's going to be something I'm wanting to do for a while, and I think a lot of other people can probably find value in it. Not going to share what that exactly is yet, but probably within the next couple weeks I'll have that out. So I'm excited for that. Someone said I'm so bad with names, so Vanida, I don't even Van Nia. Hello from Toronto. Well, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. So yeah, we're gonna use Quokka here. So if you guys didn't see, I did a YouTube short on actually Quokka. It's a really cool extension for like real-time live code execution. So we don't have to use console.logging here. But for some reason, you can see here, this is coming out 50, but it's actually 0.5. So, and it's not really real time, is it? So that, I guess it's giving it to me initially. So that really wouldn't be a great way to look at it. So I think we'd probably, well, I don't know. I guess that's interesting perspective. Vena. Awesome. Looking forward to it. Yeah, it's going to be something pretty cool. Like I said, I'm excited for it. I've been wanting to do something, and it's something I think it's practical for a lot of people too. Someone asked, did you do a video about a Vue.js to-do project a while ago? I did. Yes, I did actually do that project. My initial thought process behind that was to kind of show you on stream how I build my projects and, you know, kind of give you a perspective of how I do it before I record them. And I realized that on my channel right now, when I first started making videos, it mainly was, you know, just for, you know, my purpose of learning and kind of sharing my knowledge. But as I've accumulated, you know, a decent amount of people following, I realized that that I really don't have an entry point for someone to begin learning like Vue, for example. I mean, I don't really have an entry point for anybody learning like HTML and JavaScript and stuff, which I am working on something along those lines down the road. But long story short, instead of releasing that video as just creating a project like I normally have on the channel, I wanted to take a step back and make like an entry point for anybody that like may be new to Vue, but also if you're intermediate and you have a little knowledge of Vue, it's a great project to also just code along with and maybe learn something new. But long story short, I'm making that into kind of like a learn Vue type of video where we kind of go through the we go through the steps of perhaps making a Vue project. So going, I guess getting you started with Vue. So, going through all the basics, kind of giving you a little rundown of how it works and then creating the project. So just not a straight video of actually building the project, more of like an entry point for anybody that's trying to learn Vue 3. And it's perfect because Vue 3 just came out. So it's probably something that I think it's a good idea to actually create that at this point in time. So to answer your question in a long way, I did, and it'll be out and available hopefully soon. Still working on that at the moment. So, anyways, where were we? So, yeah, I think we can actually do the thing with we came in here to our HTML file and we added this max value of 1 and we added a step of 0.1 because the alpha value isn't, it's between 0 and 1, so we need to have like steps to kind of go through here, right? So we don't want it to just be 1 to 10, and I was anticipating we may have to do some JavaScript, but it actually so happens that we can actually make the steps accumulate by 0.1, which is what we literally want. So now if we were to add this to the alpha value here, so we say a value slider. Last year, Vue 3. Well, I should say more officially, Vue has become Vue 3 has become the default version of Vue just about like a month ago. So, although it was out and released, it really wasn't like quote unquote ready for production. I think was the kind of like the word, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't fully released yet. Is probably the better way to specify or say that. So, it has been out for a while, but it's now more officially the actual version of Vue. So yeah, there we go. So that works. So we can darken the opacity and we can do all that. And I think that's going to be our color changer here. I mean, I guess I could add a few things here to make it look a little pretty. One funny thing that I always do, because I really don't like shadowing, is I use Tailwind a lot. And if I'm not using Tailwind, I come over here and I just grab one of their box shadows. So something I always tend to do. If you ever watch my videos, you may see or may pick up on that. I don't know. So just add a little box shadow to it here to make it look a little bit nicer. And then maybe we could add like a border radius here of like 24 pixels or something. Just kind of round that a little bit. And there we go. We have a nice little Rgba color changer here. So you can kind of mess around with some things here and get a color that you want and just copy it right into your code. So pretty cool. Actually, a very useful thing. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot that already exists out there, but yeah. All right. So that's going to be that fourth project. So let's go on to the next here. So the last and final one's going to be this keyboard event key code. So I'll get more into this again. I explained at the beginning of the stream, but the main purpose of this, where I feel it's useful as this little application is useful too, is you can, obviously get a color from it. Now, when you're doing stuff within JavaScript, each key has a unique kind of reference within JavaScript. And to be honest, I find myself doing this all the time where I'm constantly having to research something to find out what that particular key is. I mean, you could go through and just do like a console.log and do that yourself, but I think a more interactive interface is probably going to be the best thing for you to actually get more information on that. And if we can create something of our own, that's awesome. So let's begin on that. So let's just close out these things here. And let's do our project number 5, index.html here. Then we have our style.css. And then we have our app.js. All right. So let's just grab the project 4 style sheet here. Once again, we're going to be using this for the centering of everything. Let's do that. And then go here, and before I forget this time, let's actually do this, and let's close this up. I'm going to link my style sheet up right away. I'm not going to forget about it this time. And there we go. All right. And then what we can do here is let's hook up our app.js here. So do app.js like that. And then let's open this up inside of our browser here. All right. Again, over here for some odd reason. There we go. And then let's close this up, put this over here, and we'll say project 5, and we'll do keyboard or keyboard event codes or something like that. All right. So this one's going to be more literally JavaScript focused. So let's get right into the JavaScript here. So what we want to do is, I can easily show this. So if we do a window.add event listener here, and we want to listen for, we have two options. We have when we press down a key or when we press up a key. I mean, there's reasons to use either or, but I think we can use key, I think it's key up we want would probably be the best one for this. And we're going to say the E target here. So this is the event. So this gives us a whole bunch of information about what event that we fired off inside of the event listener here. So for example, if we were to log this out here, so console.log, and we say E here, right? Now, if I go to my console, or once again, we could use Quokka, but I guess it depends on your preference. So if I go here and we actually hit a key on my keyboard, you can see right away we get this keyboard event code. Is it possible to up the font a bit? Are you at 13 now? Are you talking about my my code font here or the actual browser font? Sound problem? You guys said there is a sound all right? You said I heard someone say sound problem. I'm checking everything right now. It doesn't seem to be a problem. But yeah, I'm not sure what you're what you're referring to, the font or now I hear sound. So so I think if you let's see, can I actually zoom? So I can zoom in on here, but I don't know if I can zoom in on this. My editor, oh my editor, yeah, I can zoom in on my editor for sure. Let me just do a zoom in. Maybe that'll be a little better. Oh, that's probably as far as I'm gonna be able to go without making myself go crazy. So yeah, let me kind of back it up here. So what we're doing here, add event listener on the whole window, and we're listening for a key up. So if I press a key on the window here, once I press up, we're gonna get all the information about that key. Now, I believe the actual, no, sounds good, awesome. So the key code here, I believe, has been depreciated. You're not supposed to use this anymore, but as you can see here, we have this code, which is key D, which is, pretty common. We can use this to kind of indicate what key we press. So for example, if I press like enter on my keyboard now, you'll see that we get the code of enter here. So it's just nice to have Jason, you asked, I noticed that part 1 of the HTML stream is not on your GitHub. Is this something you would share later on? Won't be able to stay and finish today's video. Yeah, I'm going to actually compile this into like one repository, and I'm going to have like a little page that's going to link to all of them. So yeah, I'll be adding that today. Maybe I'll even do it on stream before we end. So yeah, when we hit this key, we can see that we get a whole bunch of different events. So the beauty, the benefit of this is that we can have one little application that'll tell us all the events. So if you want to do something particular within, your application, if you want to maybe hit tab or something, if we hit tab here, which isn't probably a good one to do, but if, let's see here, you can see cap locks, we did that. So yeah, we're just going to create a little application or a little JavaScript program here that'll pretty much just, let us know what key we're pressing and some of the information about that key. So another thing I think we could probably display, like I said, we don't really use key code. I'm pretty sure key code was depreciated. No, this will be on GitHub. I'm going to like push it into like one repository, if that makes sense. Like I'm not going to upload them individually. I think this was depreciated though. I don't think you're really supposed to use a key code anymore. So yeah, this is no longer the recommendation. So you're not really supposed to use the .key code, which is this right here. You're supposed to mainly use probably like the actual code, or you can see here, I believe there's this which value right here, which I don't know if that's supposed to be used anymore either. I gotta look that up. So we'll say keyboard which property. It's actually, maybe we gotta say yeah, I think you could probably use the which property, but we'll just create a little event that displays some of the, or sorry, a little application that displays some of this information for the particular key that we pressed. All right, so we'll need a little bit of HTML for this. So we'll have our div with the key info here, and then we'll just create maybe some little squares to display that information. So we know, for example, we want to have the actual code they press. So we'll create a div for, let's say, yep, totally. You can commit in parts to, yeah, I'll definitely be doing that. So yeah, we'll have key info, and then we'll just do a div for info, and then we'll have maybe like a paragraph tag here, and we'll just say the first one's going to be the actual code here, and then we'll do another paragraph tag for the actual code. So we'll just call this like a label, and then we'll say class, and then we'll just say code here. All right. So now, very easy, what we could do is we'll add a little styling to this. But so now if we come in here, so let's also, let's see here, come down a few, and then we'll target that specific div. So we'll say const code is going to equal document.query. Let's do selector, and then we'll say code like this. And then we'll do code.inner HTML is, or probably inner text. Let's do inner text. Inner text is going to equal the e dot code here. I can type. All right, so now if I press a key, we can see, oops, let's actually press it inside of the actual application here. So if I press like H, for example, we get key H, we get B, we get L, we get all that kind of good information right there. So this will make it very nice, because now if, for example, we're building an application, I'll show you why this can be useful. So maybe we do another window dot add event listener here, and we want to listen for a key up. We probably could have actually just done this right inside of this one. Don't really need to complicate things here. So if we say e dot, let's do code here equals, I don't know, let's say, we'll just do enter. So if it does enter, then maybe we want to do something. Actually, it should be an if condition here. So like if, and then let's just toss this inside of here. So like, say, for example, we wanted to say, oh, if the code was enter, oh, dang it, did that again. So what we could say here is, I don't know, let's just console.log only happens when hitting enter here. So just kind of show you why this would be useful. So I press any code here on the keyboard, nothing happens, but as soon as I press enter, we can see that we can actually run something specific. So this can be a very handy little app to come into and be like, okay, I need to hit the certain code. What is a key code for? Because it's not something you're going to remember. I mean, they are pretty explicit. It's like the key and then whatever. I guess it's not as challenging as it was when we used like the key code, but now we kind of use this actual code here. All right, so what we'll do is, what else could we actually display here? So let's just do console.log, and we'll say E here. So if I press on this, we get the code. What else may be useful in here? Maybe the actual key that we press. So we'll do that as well. So we'll do info, and then we'll say key like this, and we'll say key. That might be a good one to add. So we'll do that. So it's coming to our style sheet here, and then we'll say, I don't even remember what so key info. So key info like this. We'll display it as flexbox, so it goes in a row. We'll add some column gap here of, let's say, 32 pixels. Looks good. And then what we can do here is we'll say dot info paragraph tag first child. We want to make this font size a little bit bigger, so we'll make this maybe like 32 pixels, like that. And then for the actual info, let's just make this like a box. So we'll do a border 1 pixel solid, and then maybe like let's do black like that. And let's add some padding around all sides here. So padding will be, let's do like 32, make that nice. And then let's press a key here. So if we, let's do this, H, we can see we get that in there now. So we'll say info p, let's do nth child 2 here. So we're going to target that second paragraph tag. We'll make this font size a little bit bigger. We'll do, I think we gave it with 32. We'll do maybe this one 24 pixels like that. So a little bit bigger. And then let's do a text center here, text align to the center like that. And let's work on the key here. So it's a little bit weird how they're not the same size. So what we could do is, I believe we displayed this as flex. I think if we came in here and said like flex 1, that's not going to do anything because we didn't define like an actual width. Maybe we'll give this like a min width of like 150 pixels so that it kind of, they both take up the same amount of space. Then we probably also want to align both these paragraph tags to the center then. So we'll say text align center like that, and then just take this off here. All right. And then probably also font weight here. I think we have like 500. We can make that a little bit bigger. We have, I don't know why this is 1. Font weight 305. That mess it up? Mess something up. Okay. We'll just leave it as that. So we have our key code here, but I think we should, let me go to, I think I messed this up because I realized on a different project that I was doing for here that I actually messed this up. So let me take a peek 1 second. I think I have the wrong font. So I have, yeah, this is the right one. Let me copy this one in. I realized when I was building this, I think I have like italicized on here only. So I think if I change that, there we go. All right, so what we'll say here is, actually I want that one to be that size. And then for the actual key, let's say font weight, like 300. There we go. I think that looks a lot better. So there we go. So we have the code, which is key J, and then we have the key here. So let's go to our app.js here, make another reference for the actual key, and we'll do key like this. And then we'll come down here and we'll say key.innerText is going to equal e.key. So now if we type in here, we get S, we get enter. So it's pretty cool. And then what we probably can do to kind of make this a little interactive so we don't just have, like when we refresh it here, we don't have anything. So we can do something like this where we have maybe just in the center of the screen here in H1 where we say press any key to get more info. Like that. So there we go. So now what we can do here is initially let's actually get a hold of that div and we'll do const. I don't even know what the class name for that was. Key info. Like this. And camel case this though, of course. And document.query selector. And then we'll do dot key info like this. And by default, what we'll do is we'll have this set to display none here. All right. So then what we'll do is, let's actually get rid of this. This is really not part of the little app that we're building here. Just wanted to kind of show you what that would be useful for. So yeah, so now we have the target. So what we want to do is we also want to get reference to our like little heading message. So I guess we can call this const heading, or maybe we'll say start message. Message like this, and document dot query selector, and I didn't add any more headings in here, did I? If we go back through here, no, we didn't. So we can just target that by H1, like this, H1. And then what we'll do here is when we target a key, we actually also have to make this class in here. So we'll do display none. And what we'll do is we'll say display none. Pretty simple. All right. Then whenever we actually press a key when we come in here, so right now you can see when we first load in, it's just, hey, press any key to get more info. Sounds pretty clear enough. Then when we press a key, we want it to do something. So what we'll do is we'll say key, actually probably want to say start message dot class list dot remove here, and, or sorry, add, because we want to add display none to here. So we'll say add and do display none. And then we'll save this and we'll say key info dot remove. All right, so pretty simple. So now if we come in here, press any key, it'll now remove that message and we'll get the information on the key that we just pressed. And let's just check if there's any more information maybe we want to know about that particular key. Let's check it out. So keyboard event. Yeah, I don't really think you really need anything else. I guess, yeah, because you already kind of know what that event was. Control key. Yeah, I don't think you really need to know any other information. I guess you could do this which property, which is kind of the same thing as a key code, so I don't really know if that'd be useful, but yeah, I think I'll just kind of leave it as this. So if you refresh it here, we kind of have this nice little application to just kind of get more information on that key that we press. We can kind of do a whole bunch of stuff here and it'll work. All right, so pretty cool. And that is going to be it for our project here. So that is all 5 of them. So we can go back through them one more time if you weren't here from the beginning of the stream. So let's take a look. So let's see here. So the first one we did was our countdown timer, our RGB, or sorry, weather, our navigation, our Rgba switcher, and then our keyboard event here. So what I'll do actually is let me create a little file here called index. We'll call this like main.html or something like that. And what we'll do is just kind of reference all the projects inside of here, right? So let's just open this up with live server here, and then I'll end up uploading this entire repository to like GitHub for you guys so that you guys can access these projects if you want to kind of go through them or add something to them yourself. So what we'll do here is, let's see, so we'll say, so save all that, we'll say build, and we'll say build 5 projects with, what do I actually name this? So build 5 projects, and then quote, and then HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All right, so there we go. And then we'll just output a little list here. So we'll say an H1, and we'll do projects like that. And then we'll have our UL here, and then our LI for each one that we have. And then I believe you can just do an anchor tag inside of here, and we can navigate you to the actual project. So we'll say index dot like that. So now if we come in here and say project 1, and we say event slash, we'll say event countdown timer like that. So now if we click on this, I believe, let's see, I added the href to that. So hypothetically, I thought it would take you there, but it doesn't seem like that's working. Oh, because it's not inside the A value. It needs to be inside of here. And there we go. So it'll be like a nice little directory for you to get to all the projects, and we'll style this up a little bit so it looks a little bit nicer. That's not really necessary, but yeah, so let's finish off the rest of these here. So let's actually take this up like that, like this. I don't know why it looks so unformatted. It looks weird. All right, whatever. We're going to leave it like that. So do 2, 3, 4, and 5. So for the second project we had was our weather app, and then that was going to be, let's do the navigation here. So project 2 to our index.html. Then we'll say project 3 was slide out animated navigation menu, like that. And then we'll say project 3 slash, did it again, dang it, index.html. And then we had our Rgba color changer, which was actually probably quite difficult for me for some odd reason. I was thinking about it too much. For the logic there, it was quite simple actually when we got down to it. On the right track most of the time, but just didn't have it all together. So there we go. And then the last one here, probably didn't need to get rid of all of that. So project 5, we did a keyboard key code, or what did I call this again? Let's see here. This one was an odd one to call. So keyboard event key codes. There we go. Keyboard event key codes. And then I got rid of this for some reason. So project 4, Rgba color changer. Project 3. So color switcher. And then let's go to here. And then we have our key codes. And did it again. Dang it. Index.html. Okay. Try this out. So weather works, weather app works, slide out navigation works, and we have our color changer, which is pretty cool. I actually really like this. I probably might even use this for a couple of my applications when trying to pick out colors, because I always have a hard time picking out colors for apps. So I don't know if you guys ever have that issue as well, but I always tend to struggle with picking out good colors. So this will be actually pretty cool to use. And then we have our keyboard event thing. Press some more information to get the key code. So there are 5 projects for you guys that definitely can help out your JavaScript skills. All right. So I think that's gonna wrap it up here. I guess we could probably style this up a little bit. You don't really have to, but yeah, I guess we could do that. So let's get rid of some of these right here. README, close that out. Style. So we'll say new file, main style.css, and let's hook this up into this right here. Like that. And then, yeah, let's actually just kind of tweak this a little bit. So it's going to, we don't really necessarily need to do like all the body stuff. We'll just get the main stuff here. So main styles. So just kind of do that, gets rid of that. Oh, I didn't add you get the font here. All right, cool. There we go. And let's just add, so our body's our wrapper for this one. So let's just do some padding on here. So we'll do padding, 16 pixels around all sides, push it away from there, target our UL, get rid of the list style, set that to none. Looks already a lot better. And then let's just do display flex here, flex direction, and do a column. Do a row gap of like 16 pixels. See how that looks? A lot better. Don't really need to target up the ULs here. Not going to get too crazy with it. H1. Do a margin bottom of 16 as well. Push that away. So then we'll come back here, and I probably want to change this to project directory, like that, so that way we can get to our projects. And we probably could have a back button here, but not going to get into that. But as you can see, we have a nice little directory here to get to all of our projects. So anyways, hopefully you guys did enjoy the stream today. If you guys did, I would really appreciate you guys leaving a like on it down below. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care.